Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for checking out this video on Enshrouded. I also want to quickly say thank you for helping me hit 500 subs. A small goal, but a big one for me. Cheers. If you'd like to help out, please do subscribe, like, and always find me down in the comments. So, Enshrouded describes itself as a survival action RPG. I was pretty interested from the start. I had this wish listed before they put out a demo for Steam's Next Fest. If you're watching this, by the way, the demo is available, but only till the 22nd of October. Not much time, but hey, if you get in there, you can try it out. There is a time limit on the demo, 8 hours, which you can see down the bottom. I was kind of iffy on that, but it kind of left me wanting more. But hey, if you've missed the demo, if you're seeing this after, that's all right. They're saying the game's releasing in 2023, which is quickly coming to a close. So I'm hoping this isn't far off. I've seen other people compare this game to modern Zelda titles, Elden Ring and Valheim. And to be fair, none of those comparisons are wrong. It felt to me like this game is kind of created with all three in mind, and it hits a decent balance. I'd say it leans heavily into more of a Valheim feel. If you like any of those games though, keep an eye on this one. So a quick note before I really dive in. The demo did crash for me twice, but it's a demo. And there is a pop-up at the start telling you the devs are still working on optimization and all that, so I'm not too worried about that, but just something I like to flag. The demo does limit you to 8 hours, like I mentioned. Both love and hate that. Now, I debated how I was going to run this video, but instead I'm just going to run you through my first 4 hours in the demo, from start to finish, obviously cutting out all the fat. So, to start, we're birthed from this large metal urn thing, and told we need to claim a spot for our base. The demo did a really good job of kind of slowly introducing me to various concepts. We have a Zelda-like stamina meter, which is very, very Zelda-like. And I notice immediately it's increased by a level of comfort, warmth, and shelter. So sitting by this fire slowly increases how much stamina I have, basically increasing your max stamina for a limited time. Now you can upgrade how much of a stamina buff you get when you make your own settlement, and you'll see a bit of that later. We leave our starting cocoon out into the world, and I've got to say it looks pretty good. I can't fault the visuals. I actually love them. It's got an art style that's relatively timeless, not trying to push realism, but it's beautiful nonetheless. I see that tower in the distance and I want to go there. Good news is that we do actually get to do that later on. I consider testing out whether there's fall damage, but I decide I should maybe look around some first and find the intended tutorial path. So E opens chests and we get our basic items. I also appreciate there's some extra bandages that are just sitting on the table. I enjoy looting in a game that encourages me to look around, not just look for containers or shiny objects. I'm already keen to kind of explore this area, so let's see what we can find. Going further in, we're introduced to one of the game's key story and gameplay features, which is the Shroud. I guess that's why they call it Enshrouded, right? It's unfortunate that I've only realized that now. These mist type areas are kind of littered around the world and act as part of the story. This evil mist is taking over and kind of fucking your shit up. Stephen King would be proud. You have limited time in the mist. There are ways to replenish your time or improve this in the future. We get a little taste of combat here. Pretty basic, so I'll expand on that a little bit later for you when we get some more varied enemies. And just like that, we're out into the world. Free to do anything we like. Now, Enshrouded has a focus on crafting. You need to collect resources to create better loot, to get further, and so on and so on. I kind of level up here and completely forget about it, but we'll come to that later. We enter into this small town, kill a few more baddies, collect a bunch of resources, and head off to do as the quest journal tells us, and claim a space to live. Now we don't have to claim the area it's telling me to, but let's be a good lad and follow along. While gathering, I learn I can destroy a number of items in the world to get some basic components, and it fills me on how the cooking system works and gives me the basics. Nothing too interesting, so I'm kind of skipping past them pretty quickly. We also get some small story points, some letters and notes left by those who lived in the world before us. It's a nice touch. I don't hate this for world building. It's not something be honest, I opened most of these notes, but I barely skim read them. If it works for you though, and you really care about the story, then this is a good way to do it. And this brings us to our claiming of the land. We create our flame altar. Now forgive me, I'm not much of a builder. If you like building, this could be a great game for you, and I'll touch on some more of it a bit later. I place my claim on the world. This is my space, no one else's. And as I'm getting ready to build, it abruptly switches from day to night. The game does this. It can't calmly move from like night to day or day to night. it has to be a sudden shift. Hopefully that's a demo issue, because it was quite jarring the few times this happened to me while I was playing. After claiming our spot, we're told we need to find the sleeping survivor. So rather than build right now, I'm going to go find someone. Hey, if you've got no one to live with us, what's the point in building a house? I've never really been much of a builder myself, so I'm hoping the game gives me kind of some incentive to build as I go along. We'll kind of see how that goes. As we head off, we learn as we explore the world that we're going to need a grappling hook in the future to help us reach new places. Very Metroidvania. I've always liked that approach where certain areas are kind of soft locked because you don't have a certain tool to get to them. I don't want too much of that, and I get the sense this game's not going to give you too much of that. It's just kind of, again, part of the tutorial, helping you understand the world a little bit. Not having the grappling hook, it forces me to run through some more mist. I've never been a fan of, and I know I touched on the mist a bit earlier, I've never been a fan of games that give you a time lock on certain spaces. I'm someone who likes to like scrounge around like an absolute rat, searching every little trash pile. When I'm in a timed space, I start to panic. So hit and miss on that for me. I didn't actually mind it as the demo progressed, but I don't know, just something I'd share my thoughts on. To me, anything that kind of limits the player and player movement is it's a risky strategy. But I don't know, what do you guys think? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that in the comments. Do you like having small timed areas where if you spend too long there, you die? Especially when it's a game mechanic like this where it seems it's going to be quite common. Is that something you like? Or do you prefer to have more space to explore? As we approach the sleeping survivor, there's a few enemies, so I try a sneak attack, but it doesn't really work. That's something we actually have to unlock, but I didn't know it at the time. Combat is very Souls-like, and that's where people have been making the kind of Elden Ring comparison, being open world. You've got your left click to attack, right click to block, which you can also parry if it's timed correctly, and you have control to dodge. I'm sure there are some other mechanics that are going to come into it later, but those are the basics. Enemies do have like a poise meter. When you parry enough or do enough damage, they can be stunned for a brief period of time. I'm keen to see how it evolves. I want it to be challenging. If it's not a challenge for me, the world will lose a lot of its appeal. So far, I'm playing through the demo, and you'll see again some of this later. I quite like the level of challenge. Not sure if it'll be for everyone. At a certain point, which I'll show a bit later on as well, combat got quite challenging quite quickly, but I don't know if that's because I was under-geared or under-leveled for that specific space. So we expertly dispatched this man after healing up. I've got to say, though, on the combat, the parrying feels great. It feels impactful. And as we move in to rescue our Sleeping Beauty, who is a burly blacksmith guy, I ain't mad about it. Reading some nearby letters, we learn that these metal urns are cinder vessels, which is essentially a stasis chamber. Not wanting to waste a second to get this man a house, we fast travel back. You're able to fast travel to your house or your claimed spot of land, which is fantastic. Now, while I build this, I should mention you can play this game co-op with friends or with others. I could see communities getting around this. Building in the game, as it seems relatively robust, and I should mention again, this is the demo. It'll be interesting to see what people make on release. Before I get into building, I realized the mining pick lets you displace some earth. So there is some terraforming you can do as well. If you don't want to build just a solid structure, you can maybe build mounds or whatever that looks like. I then decide I'm going to dig to the bottom of the world and quickly refrain. Check it out at the end of the video, because I do decide to see how far I can dig down. Yeah, I don't know why I did that, but I did it. All of the crafting feels fairly standard, what you'd expect. It works. You get a stick, you make a stick into a thing. Sometimes you need a string with a stick to get some other thing. So you get plant matter to make a string. Crafting is what it is. It's good, it's passable, it works. Nothing that's brand new or amazing here, but you didn't need something for this kind of system. We got ourselves a nice little cottage. Nothing fancy, but somewhere for our burly blacksmith to call home. Once we get him summoned, he acts mostly like a crafting bench, but adds a bit more to the story and gives us information on the next quest. I don't hate this. I don't know what I wanted from the NPCs. It is a bit odd that he's just there and kind of is a crafting bench for me. I would have preferred maybe if I could have made him like a little blacksmith forge and he at least could have stood somewhere that makes sense. Instead, he just kind of sits under my stairs. But we have a chat with him and he gives us our next quest to clear the elixir well, which seems to be assisting in the spread of the shroud. I loved this quest. We dive deep into the shrouded area and find that you can reset your timer with these hourglasses. They look to be a limited resource, so we try to save them, and this guy with a club absolutely smashes me back to the firm arms of our blacksmith. I head back and yeah, okay, combat has that challenge I wanted. Thinking maybe I needed to make some armor, but third time's the charm and we get in there, take the guy out. I'm really enjoying the visuals this game has to offer. There's a really nice contrast around the little zones. You have the nice forests where we built our house, but then the enshrouded area is very like decaying and dead. And then there's this weird, I don't know what this is yet, this weird like lava reddish flowerish pool. I don't know what that's supposed to be. As we go further into this elixir well, we find our first boss. This felt very Souls-like to me, and I can see why people have made that connection. It's not quite at that level of difficulty from like an Elden Ring or a Souls-like, or a Souls game I should say, as I managed to beat this thing without much effort. I don't even know if I took damage. I did try to intentionally block at one point. But as someone who's played every Soulsborne Ring game, this felt very natural for me to pick up and play. The system felt very good. It felt responsive. Dodging felt good. Parrying felt good. We throw a little bit of cheesy magic at the guy before we man up and bring out the sword. Obviously, this is the demo, and I should mention the hours I played in the demo, by the end, I was a little concerned about the enemy variety. Maybe I missed something, but I was starting to feel it was a bit repetitive by the end in terms of what enemies I was fighting. This may simply be a matter of it being a demo zone though, as it was very limited in the actual game space for this open world. Later on, I find like a big barrier that prevented me from going further simply because it's a demo. So fingers crossed for more bosses at full release and more fleshed out enemies, because I've really loved the combat across. So we take out the boss and we chop down the shroud route and head on out. I thought chopping down the route may clear some of the shroud or lessen its impact in the area, but it seems to really accomplish much except for giving me some XP and a level. I think that's a bit of a missed opportunity. I wish this had more of an impact on the world around me. I find a wand on the way out, and I guess I should mention the loot. You have your various rarities, white, green, blue, orange for legendaries. In the demo, I had some fun trying out different weapons, but I didn't see a massive amount of variety. That might just be a demo thing. I did like, though, that you can be an archer, you can be a mage, you can be a warrior. And I find you can't fast travel out of the shroud. But we do find a tower not far away, and that manages to get us out. Back at our cottage, Oswald, that's the blacksmith, didn't actually know his name until I was looking at this footage. Oswald tells us that the Ember Vale has changed, that a race of ancients built towers to survey the land, and one is nearby. I think that's the tower we saw at the start. We should climb it to discover the world. For that, we'll need a grappling hook and of course our glider, because I'm not climbing a tower to simply walk back down. We do a bit of gathering, craft the items, and after getting slapped by the guy with the club in Shroudland, I decide I need some drip. Ladies, you might not like it. This is what peak male athletic form looks like. We also decide to level up because no one likes a level 1 noob when we could be a level 5 mob boss. The skill tree incentivizes you to move into a warrior, range, or mage pathway. It looks like they encourage you to pick kind of one path rather than all of them. It'll be interesting to see how that unfolds on release. I generally go for a bit of a jack of all trades, but stick around melee. I don't like magic too much because I generally find it too easy, but it'd be interesting to see how that balances out later in the game. With our new setup, shiny new sword and wingsuit, we set out to the tower. The wingsuit left a bit to be desired for me. I wish I could glide longer, but I'm hopeful we'll see an improved wingsuit later in the game. Sadly, just not in the demo. We get to try out our grappling hook on fixed terrain points to get across the map a little faster by going across this bridge. And I noticed there was an enemy here I killed earlier, who's no longer at the end of the bridge. So I'm not sure what exactly causes enemies to respawn, because later on I do come back and he's here. So I don't know if that's a particular rest, or if that's a particular time-related thing, but it was good to see later on that enemies do respawn, so their world doesn't come super bare. Now, approaching the tower here had me feeling pretty excited. When I first saw this, I just left my cinder vessel, and now I get to explore it. This, by the way, is where the Zelda comparison comes in pretty hot. Now, you probably thought, yeah, look, I've seen the world, I've seen the stamina bar, those are the Zelda vibes. But this tower is certainly influenced by the Zelda games, new and old. It's a set of puzzles, nothing too complex. They have you going through different rooms, which are essentially levels of the tower, each one needing you to solve a small puzzle like finding a button to open a door or navigating traps. I appreciated that in these rooms, the answer and way through was relatively straightforward, and it would need to be for a main mission. but some floors had extra locked doors with treasure behind them that encouraged me to keep looking around. I really, really hope that these continue to climb in complexity to some degree and have further challenging mechanics. I didn't expect much from this first one, and I'm really happy with what I saw. I'm really hoping that they get a bit more challenging as the game goes on. What I am loving about Enshrouded are the changes in pace. They don't compete with each other. One moment, I'm exploring and fighting out in the wilds. Next, I'm crafting and building a home. And now I'm solving puzzles. Much like Zelda, these all mix kind of seamlessly together and build on one another beautifully. It's at this moment that I was really sold on the vision of this game in this demo. I've seen lots of people saying it's the next Valheim. I think it'll do very well. Maybe not that well, but hey, it could get there. After finishing up the tower, we get to the moment I've been waiting for. Motherfucking wingsuit, let's go. This world looks amazing, and the game is running really well, even with the earlier hiccups. I loved this part of the game. Just flying through the air here was fantastic. Just being able to survey the world, see where things are at. Absolutely loved it. This is what I love in an exploration game, is just that freedom to just fly. So good. So after looking around a little bit more, I decide to return home for our next quest. Oswald is there, glistening in the light of our fire, and he gives us our final task, so I just head straight on out. As I'm making my way there, absolutely slaying everything in sight, I start climbing mountains for no other reason than to jump off the top with my wingsuit. As I jump off one mountain, I notice this like farmstead type building. Peaceful Acres. Sounds pretty nice. Bit of a fixer-upper, but all around a nice house. So of course we loot the place. Not sure why they have so much plant fiber laying around. After looking around a little while, I decide to move on. But then I have this thought. If you can claim land in the world and no one is living here, can I claim this house? And as it turns out, yes, I can claim the land here. Born ready, the owner of a brand new farm. My next question being, can I alter the house in some way? And from what I could see, the answer was kind of no. I tried breaking walls with my pickaxe. Didn't seem to work. Nothing in the build menu seemed to want to let me alter the home. After another sudden jarring shift from night to day to night, and some more attempts at crafting my new home, I remember I picked up an explosive. If I can't break it down with a tool or some building magic, can I break or open a wall with this? And the answer is yes. Yeah, I can. I hope there are some tools later in the game that let you break into homes a bit differently. Help you break down walls that are already existing in the world so you can kind of Frankenstein your own building from the remnants of what's left. So look, with that answered, I move on towards the end of the demo. I liked that I could build off the existing structure. Again, building for me, it's kind of a side thing, but for you guys out there who enjoy it, I just wanted to try and test that out. On our way to the final quest, I come across a couple of guys guarding a cave, and inside is a legendary sword. So this is my first time finding a legendary. I didn't actually write this into the script, but I'm remembering now. You can upgrade items, and it seemed like the power from your better items comes from the fact that they can be upgraded longer. So finding a legendary sword, it wasn't particularly amazing right from the start. It has a much more in-depth customization option and can be upgraded many more times. So anyway, as we get towards the end, I find a note, which actually gives me information on where I could have found that sword. So if I didn't find it the first time, reading these things in the world will tell you where loot can be. Joke's on you, note, I found it already. We kill some more bad guys, and this is where we reach the end of the demo. We can't complete the task, this is where the demo ends, but I imagine we would have found another friend for our house in here. I do find a magic staff and give magic a bit of a chance. You need some charges, which I'd found while looting, and it seems like there could be some good fun to be had. It's very range based. Again, I'm using a fireball, I'm using an ice attack. I'm wondering what magic might look like later in the game, but I think it's going to remain this kind of basic state. As we've reached the end of the story side of the demo, I decided to try and fly from the tower to a landmark I'd seen earlier in the distance. Unfortunately, I can't fly very far, so I land a bit early. And then I notice, can I cut my way up this hill? And will it work? And it does, and I love that. I can cut paths through the world. I couldn't climb up this mountain, but you know what? I can cut my way up and create my own little stairwell. As I approach the landmark I was aiming for, I'm unfortunately told that the demo ends there. I try to rebel against it, but I get thrown out. You win this time, devs. And this really brings me towards the end of the demo. I've touched on the crafting, I've touched on the combat, I've touched a little bit on the building. So while giving you my finishing thoughts, you can watch me dig down to the center of the earth. This game has great potential. The small section available in the demo is littered with content of various types, and it all fits in very well. Nothing was jarring to me. I took to all the new systems well, they were neatly set up and explained, and I never really felt lost, but I always felt like I was on an adventure. I felt like around every corner was something new, and I wanted to be out there exploring every second I had. I was constantly wanting to see what was over the next hill, or inside the next tower. The base building for me, like I mentioned, is secondary, but I can really appreciate what's there. It felt robust, I had tons of options, and likely only scratched the surface. Not really sure about the what's going to be available later in there, but there were decorative items, furniture, all that kind of stuff you can make. And I could see getting together with a group of friends, this could be quite a lot of fun. Combat was great fun, and I really hope that the challenge of the game continues to increase to some degree or another. It doesn't need to become Dark Souls level of challenging, but I want to have to think about combat. I did in these initial stages, and I really loved that. When to dodge, when to parry, it felt smooth, and that's an impressive feat. So closing in on my final thoughts, as I'm getting towards the bottom of the map, I really like this demo. I've really enjoyed this game so far. It'll be really interesting to see how fully fleshed out this game is, how big this game is. I could see it going really well. I really could, and I'm hoping the devs hit that. It seems like they have. It all ran really well. The world seems great, it seems fleshed out, it seems really handcrafted, which I appreciate. But let's answer that question. Where does the world end? I've been digging for a while now in my effort to find the bottom of the world. I should point out there's a timer in the bottom left, which you probably noticed already. You can tell it took well over an hour of digging here. And here it is, the bottom of the world. It's a white void. I don't know what I expected. This is what I expected, to be fair. No one in their right mind should spend an hour plus digging straight down for this. There's nothing here. Wait, what's that in the void? It's, oh my god, it's my channel. Hey, if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. I appreciate it greatly. Please do like, subscribe, let me know in the comments. Are you keen for this game? Have you been anticipating it? Or has it only just shown up on your radar like it has mine? Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.